I'm Richard.
And I'm Will.
And together we're
The Irreverent Nerds. Bum, bum, bum.
Nerds.
Nerds.
Welcome to another episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. I am host number one, only because I was the first host, not because I'm more important than Will. Will is equally important. We are egalitarian on this podcast, so I am co-host number one.
I'm number two. I mean, co-host number two.
Will is co-host number two. He came on a few episodes into the podcast as a guest host. For those of you that have been following us along the way, we talked about all things Batman the very first time my good buddy Will here came on and joined me, and we had a blast. So hey, go back and listen to that episode because it's really good.
Yeah. So is this like one of those recap episodes where they didn't film anything and they're just showing us clips from all the old episodes? I'm kidding.
No, actually, we do have a new topic for this week. So, nerds, we are talking about a subject that is near and dear to Mr. Boyer's heart, and that is Ghostbusters. If you haven't already picked this up listening to the podcast, you will know now that this is one of Will's favorite properties in the sci-fi fantasy genres.
I'm just hoping they're not picking up how I'm eating right now.
Yeah, we both just are finishing the edges of our dinner. It's a Monday night. We're recording on a different night this week because Mr. Boyer was in Myrtle Beach last week. And
it's on you. It's Tuesday.
That's right. This is like the night before this releases, so this is a little more off the cuff. There's not going to be much editing. We're just going to put this out into the world. You know, if it flops, it flops. If it succeeds, it succeeds. It is what it is.
I was meaning to ask you if you recorded anything for tomorrow. I didn't realize this was it.
This is it. This is it.
I thought this was for next week.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope, this is for tomorrow. Yes, sir. Well, hey, Will, tell us a little bit about your trip to Myrtle Beach, because I know you sent me pictures and also told me a couple things about some nerdy things you did while you were there. So you want to talk about the museum first or the movie first?
The movie.
All right.
Oh, I did that when I got back. Okay, so yes, my wife Mandy and I went to the Wax Museum at Myrtle Beach. They had Bill Murray there. Bill Murray on a golf course, elderly Bill Murray, and they also had Jean-Luc Picard, aka Patrick Stewart, and Leonard Nimoy as Spock. They had some props available, so I got to put on a red shirt with Spock, where I'm looking at the red shirt and like, oh no, I'm in a red shirt, and then I got to get on the transporter with Picard in a gold shirt. Was it gold? No, blue. No, I don't remember. It wasn't red. You know, my captain. I'm not going to fight you for your title.
Well, gold is one of the colors that was on TNG, so maybe it was gold.
Didn't Riker wear gold? I'm pretty sure he did in the beginning.
No, I think Thomas Riker, you know, that infamous episode where Riker gets like split. Oh yes, I'm looking at the photos now, and yes, you did have a gold uniform on while standing next to Captain Picard.
I just wanted the lower ranking.
Yeah, I think Lieutenant Commander Data, I believe, has a gold, but I think once you become a full commander or a captain, then you wear red, if I'm not mistaken. Although that's a little confusing. I think the pips on the collar have more to do with rank than anything else.
Okay.
Because I mean, obviously, if you go back to the original series, you have the red shirts, like they're like the people that die in every episode, and they're usually lower on the totem pole.
What are those rats that jump off cliffs? them lemmings. That's it. The lemmings of space.
But no, that's pretty cool though. Did they? I know you mostly sent me. I think you only sent me pictures of the Star Trek, but I'm assuming you mentioned they had
Oh yeah.
They had Bill Murray. Did they have any other like sci-fi fantasy properties there
Well, they had
or
Chris
actors?
Pratt. Chris Pratt was in a Jurassic World display. Dwayne Johnson was in a gym. So I, naturally got photos of me not being able to pick up a dumbbell. But I mean, I got a photo.
But wait, was it
Wait, there's more.
Dwayne? Was it Dwayne or Blaine?
It was definitely Dwayne this time.
By the way, no one has voted in our poll yet, so there's still no answer to that question.
We'll never know. I guess the next time we watch Love and Thunder, we'll have to listen for it.
Yes, yes. When it's on Disney Plus, we'll have to
Yeah.
watch it again.
I've come to see that movie in a more forgiving light now that I realized it was always meant to be a comedy. I just didn't know that going in, like a straight up complete comedy.
Yeah, honestly, that makes me less forgiving towards it because it's not that funny.
But it has screaming goats. Okay, we're getting off topic.
I do enjoy the screaming goats, and there's some humor that does land well, but that's the tough thing about trying to do comedy, especially if you're doing it in a universe where no one's made a straight comedy in the MCU.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even Deadpool was less of a comedy than Love and Thunder. I just want to point this out.
that's true. There's some very serious stuff in it. It's very true. A lot of death, dismemberment,
Well, it had an actual,
romantic angst.
the plot narrative wasn't destroyed or hindered by the comedy. That's all I'm saying.
Yes, that's where it's like Thor was. It was trying too hard, and if it was trying to be a comedy, it was still trying too hard.
And what's that actor, Chris Hemsworth? Yeah, he was not in the Wax Museum.
Oh, okay.
But you know who was?
Hmm.
Will Smith. He smacked me.
Oh, okay.
Got slapped by Will Smith.
Was Chris Rock in there getting slapped by Will Smith?
No, that would have been hilarious. So Will Smith was standing next to Angelina Jolie.
Oh, really? Not Jada Pinkett?
No.
Should have had him standing next to his wife.
Ha ha ha.
She's famous too.
Wife's name out of your mouth.
That's true. Yeah, I shouldn't talk about Jada. So what else did you get to do on this trip that was nerdy? And you can do, I know you saw a movie, I'll let you tell us about it, but you can do a spoiler-free review.
Okay. Well, I'll just jump to the movie I saw when I got back into town. Just for the comedy and humor of it, we left the beach early because there was a raccoon in our rental house.
Okay.
Yeah. So like Friday morning, the nephew wakes up and there's a raccoon in the ceilings. So then the raccoon walks overhead my wife who's in the bathroom. She's like, "What's that? What's that?"
Oh heck no! Yeah, I'd be getting out of there too.
And I was like, "Oh, it's probably the squirrels. They won't hurt you."
That's one thing if they're going through your trash outside. It's another thing if they get inside your house.
Yeah, but anyway, so I can look back and laugh at that now, but not that it scared me, but it scared everybody else. Anyway, it would have scared me if I knew it was a raccoon, I guess. But so we came back into town, and Mandy and I got to watch Jurassic World Dominion finally. And spoiler-free review. It was. I'm sad that I listened to the reviewers say that this movie wasn't good. I mean, it's not my favorite in the series, but it's decent. It is. I enjoyed it, and I want to see it again.
Cool. Where would you rank it among was it 6 now?
Well, that's a tall order, my friend, because I'm gonna have to spend more time thinking about that. But right now, unofficially, let's see. I'm going to rank it par and par with Jurassic World 3 but better than Fallen Kingdom. And to
Okay.
be honest, Jurassic Park 1, Jurassic Park 2, Lost World, and Jurassic World are my top favorites. Um, so those would go, obviously the first one being on top, but those would go above uh, Jurassic Park 3 and Dominion. I'm just not sure right now where Dominion falls next to Jurassic Park 3. That's
Which is,
maybe above it. I don't know. Don't know yet.
so it's at least number. So you liked it better than Fallen Kingdom, but not necessarily better than Jurassic World, the first one.
I actually liked Jurassic World, the first one.
I enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
And I knew that they were trying to kind of mirror some of the beats of the original and evoke some of the nostalgia of the original. And I knew that, and it didn't really bother me that much. Like I enjoyed it. It was thoroughly enjoyable. It was cool to see the dinosaurs up on the big screen. Like
Absolutely.
once again, it would have been what, 14 years at that point? 12, 13, 14 years since Jurassic Park 3 came out, I think.
Oh, I don't even know. Wasn't that 2007, 2004?
I want to say 2002 or 3, somewhere in there.
Yeah, let's go with that. That's probably true. It wasn't '07. But it's been a long time. It's been a while.
So anyway, but you enjoyed Dominion.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I did. I recommend it. It's not as good as Jurassic Park, the original, of course, but it's good, and it fills in some plot holes, even plot holes, or not really plot holes, but plot threads that were abandoned after the first movie. We get to go back and actually explore that.
Ah, cool.
So it wraps up some plot threads from both the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World films, and it does what it's supposed to do, and it's fun doing it as it does it.
Nice. Can't ask too much more, I guess, of because that series is more or less it's been a popcorn blockbuster kind of series. It's made a lot of money. It's a spectacle on the screen. The characters are likable enough that
Yeah.
you don't hate them, obviously. You enjoy the ride more or less. But yeah, it's like certainly better than the Transformers. I don't even know
Oh
what
my
it's up to.
gosh! Don't.
Is it sick? Like, I will admit I did enjoy seeing Transformers on the big screen, like the actual Transformers. Like that was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree about that. Even though they look kind of weird, they were realistic though.
yeah, ILM did an amazing job with the animation, like the CGI and stuff on that. And I am somewhat of a Shia LaBeouf fan, I must say. But he was a little annoying in Transformers. But I am a
Yeah,
fan of his overall. He does some pretty good work.
I'm not a fan, but I probably need to give him more credit.
Like
Maybe it's just because he's a little annoying. Maybe that's all it was.
oh yeah, like his Sam Witwicky character is kind of
Spike.
fringe annoying. But if you'd seen some, like for instance, Peanut Butter Falcon is one of his recent independent films.
Peanut Butter Falcon.
Peanut Butter Falcon.
Peanut Butter Falcon.
I recommend it. It's a excellent indie film. Dakota Johnson's also in it, and yeah, he did a really good job in it. Like, but yeah, he tends to do better in independent films, I think.
Should we talk about this name?
I don't know.
Is like the Falcon eat peanut butter, or is it a Falcon made out of peanut butter?
I'm trying to remember where the name comes from within the context of the film.
Does he love peanut butter, and they call him the Peanut Butter Falcon? He's like the Cookie Monster.
I'm trying to recall because like the basic plot of the film is that someone who was born with Down syndrome, and I think he's living like being cared for and living in a nursing home. So I guess his parents couldn't take care of him, and he escapes / is helped to escape from the nursing home. He has this dream of competing or training to be a wrestler, like a WWE type wrestler, and he saw this video of a former WWE wrestler or something like that had a training camp someplace. Yeah. So he has this dream of going to the training camp and being trained to be a wrestler. And after he escapes, he runs into Shia LaBeouf's character,
Oh, okay.
and the two of them, Shia LaBeouf is trying to escape some people that he has made very angry, and like they kind of go on this journey together, and
Seems to have that problem.
yeah, it's pretty cool. Like I really do recommend it. It's a good film. It's
Well, that's great.
critically acclaimed as well, from what I understand.
That actually sounds interesting. I might try to track that down.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Like it, um, when he plays in indie films, it seems like that's where he really shines.
Cool.
Like I think in particular.
I had
And,
been wondering why I hadn't seen him on the big screen in a while. So he's been doing indie.
Yeah, I don't think he's done a blockbuster in a bit. Like a blockbuster type film. I think he's kind of migrated away from those a bit.
I think his last blockbuster might have been Indiana Jones and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which is controversial.
Yes, it is.
An Indiana Jones film. And I must say I liked him more in Transformers, but I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch Crystal Skull and give another chance.
Yeah.
You're like, no, don't do that.
I enjoyed. I did enjoy the alien part of it, to be honest. Or excuse me, extra dimensional beings.
Extra dimension.
That was actually kind of fun. I liked that part, and I don't think it was too far afield of the original trilogy. You know, because they're hunting for mythical objects, right? So why not a crystal skull? You know, why not?
Yeah, why not? I mean, the original trilogy, it was about religious objects, Judaism, Christianity, and then the middle film, Temple of Doom. I don't even remember the religion that's connected to. So it's a different theme, but why not? You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, why not? But yeah, there were some elements of the film that were just a little bit ridiculous, like Shia LaBeouf swinging from vines, and people being eaten alive by giant ants.
Yeah,
it's like okay.
Well, I mean that's technically realistic.
Yeah, that could happen in certain places.
In Africa, I think. What are they called? Army ants. They can strip a live cow in seconds or something. Yeah,
it's something about the way they edited it or something in the film that didn't quite work, and I don't know. It had its.
I've only seen it once.
But anyway. So hey, have you been reading any comic books recently, or anything related to that world, manga, comic books?
I just finished 2 volumes of manga, which I read on my vacation. Yokaiden, Volume 1 and Volume 2, and I'm thinking about doing a Japan jaunt on it. It was good. It wasn't like the best manga I've ever read, but it was good. And I found out, I went searching for Volume 3, and it got canceled. So there's no Volume 3. That's sad.
Oh.
I picked it up for $5 a pop at the Five and Below. So if you want a book about yokai, go to your Five and Below, see if they have it. So there we go. I just ruined my material for Japan John.
Well,
I can talk about it more.
Oh yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Excuse me. Been a long day. Well, I finished reading the comic book you gave me for my birthday recently.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I found some more I want to give you.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, so nerds, Will got me Batman, was it Earth 1 Volume 2?
Cool.
The graphic novel or the anthology, whatever you prefer, whatever term you prefer. But I guess graphic novel is more accurate.
Novel. An anthology would be a mixture of different stories by different creators, wouldn't it?
That's true.
Maybe you're thinking a trade paperback. Well, actually, I guess that was a hardcover.
It was, yeah. I think graphic novel is the correct term. But no, the storyline was excellent. Now that I look at it, I was like, I can't remember if I did actually read Volume 1. I think I did. But either way, Volume 2 still made sense they and yeah, it was really well written, and the art was good as well in it. So yeah, I recommend it. Batman Earth One. But speaking of Batman, I picked this up today actually from McKay's. So I don't know if you could. Well, you probably can't see it.
Ah,
It's
for
disappearing.
those of you that are listening, Richard and I can see each other.
Yeah, I was trying to show it too, Will, but it's a Batman Black and White,
We're on Zoom.
and this is actually an anthology written
It's
by multiple artists.
it's really weird how your green screen is just chopping that whole comic book out.
Let me see if I can. Here we go.
Oh, okay,
Bat-
cool.
yeah, Batman Black and White.
I
So
remember you were really into Black and White, the Batman Black and White series a long time ago.
yeah, they did a series. I don't know if it's related to this, but they did a series of
Oh,
motion comics. It might be related to this. They did a series of motion comics where they animated, some of the comics, and it was called Batman Black and White. So it may be that it was from this
I
series,
assume.
but this is an anthology, and it won the Eisner Award apparently for best anthology and also
Nice.
for best short story. And came out in 1998.
Cool.
So yeah, and what's really sweet about this particular edition is that when I opened it up to the back, I saw that it came with Blu-ray and DVD.
What?
Yeah, of Batman Gotham Knight. I was like, heck yeah! Like you and I have talked a
That's
little, or
great.
I brought that up before on our podcast. Like Batman Gotham Knight is itself an anthology, and it's an anthology of essentially anime style, like it's little vignettes or episodes, if you want to use that term.
Yeah.
Each one has its own independent storyline, and each one is done by a different well-known anime director from Japan. So like each one has a unique art style. Now the voice actors, I believe, remain the same throughout the course of the anthology film. But yeah, each one has a different storyline and a different art style. So it's really sweet. Like I'd seen it years ago, and I think I had it on iTunes at one time, and then I lost that iTunes account, so I hadn't seen it in a long time. And when I saw that in the back of this, I was like, heck yeah, I'm gonna get this. Like
Fantastic.
the graphic novel is cool enough on its own, and then that's like a bonus in the back.
And you said you got that in case?
Yeah, just 14
Cool.
bucks.
Hey, that's a really good price coming with the
Heck yeah.
Gotham Knight in the bag.
Yeah, and it's basically new condition. Like whoever owned it took really good care of it. So it's
That's
pretty
great.
pretty sweet deal there. I'm sure it'd be like closer to at least 30 bucks if I got it brand new. I'm sure. But yeah, like pretty dang cool. So that's I haven't started reading that yet, but I will very soon. And I'll also be watching the Batman Gotham Knight.
Speaking of McKay's, a new store opened up in our local mall here in Camel City, Video Game World. Yeah, pretty awesome place. I'm really impressed by their manga section.
Hmm.
Yes, they have a manga section in Video Game World. They
Okay.
have gotcha machines. They've got like what 8 gotcha machines in there. And if you don't know what that is, that's a Japanese gumball machine, except it spits out basically what looks like a Pokeball from Pokemon, and you have a little toy inside, or a
Nice.
little keychain or something. So yeah, just a little plastic capsule. It's a capsule machine, gotcha capsule. But I still like McKay's better though. I want to tell everybody about Video Game World. Go check them out. But I gotta be honest too. McKay's is still king. But yeah, that's pretty cool though. They got some cart games and cartridge games from the 90s and 80s and pretty much every system imaginable.
Oh yeah, like McKay's, as I've mentioned before here on the podcast, is like nerd heaven.
Yeah.
And I don't know how big the one in Greensboro is now, but the facility here in Winston-Salem, they purchased or leased a much bigger facility
Yeah.
than the one they originally had. So it's massive, and yeah, they've got all kinds of stuff there. Like that's where I got this, and I just actually gave them a shout out on our Instagram
Cool.
today. I was showing off the graphic novel. So I don't know if they saw it or liked it, but if you're listening, anyone from McKay's, thank you for stocking so many amazing nerdy things.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
So we're about to wrap up this segment here. So when we come back, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the episode, but we are going to be talking about Ghostbusters. Oh, I did mention it. Never
Yeah,
mind.
you did.
I did.
I
So,
had food in
hey,
my mouth and I didn't chime in.
Ghostbusters coming up next. Nerds, Richard here, taking a moment to talk to you about the podcast. First of all, thank you so much for listening. For those of you who do listen, wherever you listen, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or some other podcasting service, we would appreciate some feedback. Whether that's in the form of subscribing to the podcast there, or following us, or engaging with us in the polls that we have. This is on Spotify specifically. We have polls and questions on almost every episode, so we'd be glad for your feedback. Also, if you'd like to leave us a voice message, you can go to our website. It's anchor.fm/irreverentnerd and click the message button there to leave us a note. We will, as I said, include it on next week's episode. So, nerds, reach out. Let us know how we're doing. And now, back to this week's episode.
And we're back.
All right. So, on to the main topic of the episode, Ghostbusters. So, well, where would you like to start? I mean, I suppose it would make sense to start with the original 1984 property, but what do you think?
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about the origins of Ghostbusters, who the creator was, and why he was inspired to create Ghostbusters, and some other factoids. But I
Yeah,
guess
that's cool, man.
for those. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, let's go there.
Cool.
Origins.
Right before we do that, I guess it would be fitting to explain to people who might not know what Ghostbusters is. What is Ghostbusters? Well, Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Bill Murray, and Ernie Hudson, with Annie Potts, starred in Ghostbusters in 1984. It was directed by Ivan Reitman. Sorry, a little brain fart there. It was a big success. It inspired a cartoon series and a second film. And a bunch of us kids who grew up in the 80s and 90s are now run around in costume. A little joke there, but yeah, I'm a Ghostbuster cosplayer. But anyway, the premise of the film is that our main characters are scientists who need money to continue their scientific research, so they decide to go into business as exterminators. They get rid of pesky poltergeists that are bothering their human neighbors, then throw them in a containment unit in the basement. They get shut down by the EPA, but the mayor has to let them back out of jail because they're the only people who can save the world from a ghost apocalypse. And that's basically the premise of both the first and second movie. And the weekly episodes of the cartoon series is, conflict, and they're there, they can do it, and they do it. So forgive me if I
Well, here's I was looking up a little trivia myself.
Yeah.
Here's a weird thought. when the movie, the original, came out, Bill Murray is younger than you and I are now.
Yeah.
He was 34 years old.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah, interesting to like watch movies where like, wow, those guys are so old, and now I'm older than they were when they were in the film. So it's like it's interesting.
Did you know that in 8 years, the 80s will have been 50 years ago?
Well, yeah, 1980, yes, but yeah, we're getting
Sad.
old, man. We're
Yeah.
getting old.
So, and I'm getting tired, so
Old and
hang with
tired.
me here. It's been a busy day for both Richard and I. So Ghostbusters, I want to talk about who created Ghostbusters and why. So Dan Aykroyd created the Ghostbusters, or at least the Columbia Sony Pictures Ghostbusters. And the reason why is because he comes from a long line, or at least his father and grandfather, I think. I could be wrong, of ghost hunters. So the paranormal and interest in the paranormal, it runs in his family. Um, so, he was interested in that kind of stuff. He was exposed to it from a young age. And so he's a Saturday Night Live actor and Blues Brothers. He just got done filming Blues Brothers with, was it Jim Belushi or John? I think it was Jim.
That sounds
Uh,
right.
yeah. Yeah, those two are the Belushi brothers. One of them is still with us today. I think it's John. But so Jim Belushi and Dan Aykroyd are best friends, and they just did Blues Brothers together. And they're looking for their next film. And Dan Aykroyd's like, Ghostbusters. I mean, he didn't have the name yet, but he had the concept. Except his concept was vastly different than what we saw in 1984. He wanted the film to take place in an apocalyptic future where the ghosts had already won and the Ghostbusters were just janitors cleaning up the mess. Uh, the It would have featured a spaceship, time travel, and interdimensional travel and space travel all in the same movie. The Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, who is the basically the ghost kaiju of the film, was only one of many different giant monsters that Dan Aykroyd wanted to create for the original concept. Now, he brought this to Ivan Reitman, and Ivan Reitman said, "This is not in the budget. We can't do this." So he got Harold Ramis involved, and Harold Ramis helped Dan to tone it down to make it more relatable and more within budget. So now it takes place in present day New York City. And so Dan is the original creator, but it just needed to be polished by Harold Ramis. Around this time, Jim Belushi dies of a drug overdose, which is very sad. And they cast Bill Murray in the role. As a matter of fact, there's rumor that Bill Murray was not didn't want to be in this film. There's rumor they told him he wanted to make his own film, and they said, "Okay, we'll make it if you star in Ghostbusters." And he does. I don't think they made this film though. I think they conned him, but they get him to do Ghostbusters. I'm glad he's in it. He does a great job. And the fourth main character of the film is Ernie Hudson, but believe it or not, before that, they had actually wanted Eddie Murphy for that role. So the original lineup of Ghostbusters would have been Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, Jim Belushi, and Eddie Murphy. And let's not forget Rick Moranis. He played the nerd in the film, but originally John Candy was cast, and he actually was on set. But they decided not to go that route because John Candy wanted to change too much of the script. So that's how we got Rick Moranis instead of John Candy. John Candy wanted the nerd to be German. He wanted the nerd to have two dogs, like German shepherds, I think. And so they eventually realized John Candy just wasn't right for that particular character. But what a movie that would have been, right? That would have been very vastly different. Eddie Murphy could not commit to his role because he was already committed to a different film. So Ernie Hudson was instead cast in the role of Winston Zeddemore. Unfortunately, Ernie was done dirty because he was supposed to be a scientist with the other three actors, his character, and he was supposed to introduce him in the beginning of the film. But because Ernie Hudson was a less known actor than Eddie Murphy, instead they introduced his character Winston Zeddemore in somewhere in the middle of the film. So that was very disappointing to Ernie Hudson, but you know, he didn't stay bitter or anything about it. You know, he loves Ghostbusters, and he and Dan Aykroyd might be the biggest Ghostbuster fanboys. Anyway, so that's a little bit of background, some factoids for the first film. Now, what's interesting is that there were several other names for this film, Ghostbreakers being one of them. And the people that worked on this film, the actors, Ivan Reitman, were really wanting Columbia Studios, Sony, to pay the rights to get this name, because this name did not belong to them. This name actually belonged to Filmation, who had a live-action black and white TV series from the 70s called The Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters starred, I haven't actually watched this live-action show, but it starred two men and a gorilla, as in a man in a gorilla suit. And they went around and they chased ghosts or something. And funny enough, you would think that the one of the characters' last name is Kong. You would think it was the gorilla, but no, the gorilla's name is Tracy.
That's funny.
So
it's like, oi,
yeah.
Tracy, what do you want, Kong?
Yeah, I mean, that's the part I don't get. I mean, I guess maybe they originally named him Kong, and they named one of the people something Kong, but
Yeah,
they had
I'm
to switch it.
assuming it was a joke, but
Yeah, I assume so too. I mean, well, Donkey Kong gets away with it without the people that own King Kong suing him, so I guess it must have just been a joke. But so Sony Columbia Pictures, they buy the rights to the name Ghostbusters for the movie, but Filmation, who is now doing cartoons, decides to cash in on this, and later on they admitted that it was a mistake on their part. They shouldn't have done it, but because it was a financial loss for them as well, they created a cartoon called Ghostbusters right after the theatrical film hits theaters, and it's a success. And now Columbia Sony Pictures is thinking about their own cartoon. Well, Filmation pops out Ghostbusters, which is completely unrelated to the film, but is related to the old black and white series. It stars the sons of the original Ghostbusters plus the same gorilla Tracy, but it's a cartoon now. And we keep the whole Kong Tracy joke. I believe that the son's name is Jake Kong, I believe. I could be wrong. I got some of that on DVD. I'm not a huge fan of the Filmation Ghostbusters, but it's interesting, to say the least. There was a toy line and everything. And then a few days to a week after it released, we have the real Ghostbusters released on TV. And exactly.
So is that why it was called The Real Ghostbusters?
Yes, that's exactly it. It's because when they sold the rights, they had this legal battle going on because they bought the rights to the name Ghostbusters, but apparently that did not include the rights to a cartoon called Ghostbusters. And since the Filmation put out their Ghostbusters, they couldn't put out a show with the exact same title, so they called it The Real Ghostbusters to show their superiority and the fact, hey, this is the one connected to that movie. This is the one you want.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever saw the Funimation one, but I did definitely see some episodes of the real Ghostbusters
Right.
back in the day.
Filmation, but if Funimation had made one, I would watch it.
Oh, sorry, yeah, Filmation.
That would be interesting.
Now, has there been any animated series since the original, the real Ghostbusters?
Oh, there has. In 1997, there was the Extreme Ghostbusters. Weird title, but it was pretty good. It was darker than the original. Some crazy things were allowed to happen that the original would have never allowed, like ghosts performing unnecessary surgery on some random victim, things like that. Yeah. It was great. Some of the characters are weird. When I say weird, I mean different. They're different than the movies. They're different than the original cartoon. We've got, well, first of all, we've got Garrett in the wheelchair and Roland. Yeah, Roland, the black member. They wear the flight suits just like the original characters in the movies do. But then we've got Kylie Griffin, my personal favorite character, and Eduardo Riviera, I think, or is it Rodriguez? I think it's Riviera though. And I have seen this. I own both the Real Ghostbusters and the Extreme Ghostbusters, the entire series on DVD, Blu-ray. And that show is basically just testing the water. They wanted to test the water to see if people would be interested in a third film that replaced the original characters and actors with new actors, new characters. So in the Extreme Ghostbusters, we have this new team being led by Egon Spengler from the original cartoon series, and it was pretty good. I kind of got off track. The reason why Eduardo and Kylie Griffin are different is because they don't wear the flight suits. I mean, Kylie Griffin is this little goth girl, and she wears a bright yellow football quarterback gear, so she's got this big quarterback chest plate. And Eduardo just wears street clothes and just slaps the Ghostbuster logo on his t-shirt sleeve because he can't be bothered to wear a uniform.
I can wear a uniform, man.
Yeah, pretty much. He was the slacker of the team. But so that was a little different, but they at least made the characters unique. It did make them unique. I still question why Kylie Griffin wears a football chest plate, but I guess that's where the name Extreme came from, or comes into play.
Well, just in case you have to tackle a ghost, right? Or
I guess
otherworldly entity.
Maybe they just wanted her to look more imposing since she's short.
Yeah, I never saw any episodes of that one, but like I said, I do remember seeing at least a few of the real Ghostbusters, and one in particular, for whatever reason, stands out to me. There's an episode where now I may be getting this mixed up with another '80s cartoon, to be honest, but I think there's one where they fight mutant tomatoes.
Oh, that was Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. That was an
actual
cartoon.
Okay, so that was an actual series. So never mind.
Yeah, that's interesting. We could do an entire podcast just on that, but yeah.
For some reason, my brain had this memory of Egon fighting against tomatoes. I don't know why. It's funny how the brain can converge things sometimes.
Well, I don't know. There could have been an episode with possessed produce, but off the top of my head, I don't remember one.
Yeah. But no, I do remember, now that you mentioned the name, I'm like, yep. And I did watch some of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes back in the day. Good old 80s cartoons, am I right?
Yeah. Well, believe it or not, Attack the Killer Tomatoes was based on a live action film.
uh,
There's something you've got to see now.
Hollywood. Have you ever seen The Blob?
I I have, but it's been a very long time. Very long time. So all I
Uh,
remember is the blob killed people.
yep.
Sucked them right up.
A giant moving pile of jello. No, I'm supposed to eat you, not the other way around. Ah. Sorry, I have no idea if there was any British people in that movie, but that's the accent that came to mind.
No, you're just elevating the movie, that's all.
That's right. Yeah. Got to get a little bit of an accent in there somewhere. It's like, oi, what is that?
So I guess that for as far as the origins of Ghostbusters, I guess that wraps that up.
Okay.
As you can imagine, if I didn't say it already, the Filmation Ghostbusters cartoon didn't last. It confused people. The toys probably didn't sell, and it was not a commercial success. Whereas the real Ghostbusters got several seasons.
So how old were you when you saw the film Ghostbusters for the first time?
Well, that's an interesting question because I don't know, actually. What I do know is that by the age of 4 years old, I was watching the cartoon and I was playing with the action figures. Uh,
I was gonna say, like, which did you see first in your, at least as you remember, like the film or the TV series?
oh, definitely the cartoon. And I remember in 1989 when Ghostbusters 2 came out, I remember that must have been when I was four, actually. And I remember the Coca-Cola cans that says "Do not open. There's a ghost inside." And I remember how Hardee's had the little toys, the Ghostbuster 2 toys. Um, but I wasn't allowed to go to the theater to watch those because I wasn't old enough yet, you know.
Oh yeah, like 4 years old. Yeah, that your parents shouldn't be taking you to see Ghostbusters too.
Yeah. I mean, it's really tame for an adult, but or an older child, but for a 4 year old, it might not have been.
Oh man, I think I remember. I did not see, like, we didn't go to theaters growing up as a family. We just didn't. And but I remember being aware of the second one when it came out. I would have been 6 when it came out, and I saw it on TV at some point after that, like age 7 or 8, somewhere in there. And I do remember being creeped out by the dude in the painting. I can
Oh yeah,
never remember his name, the
I
character's
am the
name,
eagle,
Vigo. Coming to life and like
something like that.
creepily staring at Sigourney Weaver, that kind of thing. And I remember the slime coming out of the bathtub faucet. Yeah, those are like two things I remember from watching it as a kid.
So you said you saw you think you've seen all the movies. I know you've seen the first two.
Yes, yes, I've seen all the movies. Like, so I've seen the first two. Well, it's been a long time since I saw the second Ghostbusters film. The first one I think I've seen again more recently, but then I saw the 2016 release, with Melissa McCarthy and Kristen Wiig and and then of course the most recent one,
Cool.
Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yeah, I wasn't certain if you'd seen Afterlife yet.
Didn't we go to see it together? I feel like we did.
I guess so. I don't remember. Isn't that sad? I was talking to somebody else the other day. Spider-Man: No Way Home. Did you see that? Yeah, I did. I saw it with you. You did. This is always happening to me. I remember the movie, but I don't always remember who I went to see it with. I'm
Excuse me.
gonna take your word for that.
I think we did. That sounds like something we would have gone to see together.
As a matter of fact, now that you mention it, I do remember us going together.
Yeah, because I can't think of anybody else that I would go with. 'Cause I know you love Ghostbusters, and I don't. Not that not that my other friends hate it or anything. It's just that I don't have another friend who is enthusiastic about Ghostbusters. So
Yeah.
yeah, I enjoy that film. I don't know about you, but that's one we haven't reviewed yet. But
Yeah,
I thought it was
definitely.
good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it too. As a matter of fact, I like the 2016 one. Not as different. It's not as much as I like the Afterlife, but I think the 2016 film gets undeserved hate sometimes, which
Yeah,
will trigger some people. But use that energy, people, in the comments.
it was enjoyable. Like I'm not necessarily a big fan of kind of the I don't even know what to call it. Like there seems to be a modern trend where it's like hey, let's reimagine this property with someone of a different ethnicity or someone of a different gender, and it often doesn't work very well or
Right.
isn't successful because I'm like, why do you need to do that? Like is it really that necessary to redo an old property and make it quote unquote more politically correct? I was like, why not just make a new film with really awesome female characters or really awesome black characters or Asian, what have you? Just make a new film with amazing characters. You don't need to remake one just because it had white men in it in the 80s. Like it's not necessary,
Well, that you
like
got a point there. That's true.
like and the reason I say that is because the I do believe the from what I read and you could kind of tell a bit in the film as well. The director who was a man, interestingly, I believe he was a gay man, but like he was a man. Um,
He was a man.
but he was also a feminist, from what I understand, which men can be
Yeah, that's
feminists.
true.
Um, he was very kind of deliberate in that he was trying very deliberate to make that point. So some of that comes across like a little bit of the preachiness, and I'm like, uh, Ghostbusters not really the venue for that. Like, go make another film that presents that point. But even, I'm more in favor of films like Moana, for instance, that
Yeah.
it doesn't have to hit you in the face with feminism, but Moana is a Disney movie, for those of you who haven't seen it. Moana is a very strong female character. The film doesn't feel the need for her to have any romantic interest. She saves the day. She does have a male counterpart, but he is helped by her as much as she gets help from him. So it's like, in many ways, she helps him more
Yeah.
than he helps her, and she's definitely the heroine of the story. Yeah, and doesn't have to win a prince in the end. Same thing with Elsa and Frozen. Like there's no romantic interest for her. She's just a powerful, intelligent female character who does. I was like, it's like that kind of stuff's legit. Like you're creating a new property.
Yeah.
You know, you're not trying to just reimagine one. And it's like the way they should have made it. It's like yeah. So
I think
that's my little soapbox thing.
and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I wanted to point out Wonder Woman is the live action Wonder Woman film as another strong female lead. She does have a love
Mhm.
interest, but I mean she's a strong female lead, and I think that is important to have those.
Yeah.
Um,
Not that there's anything wrong with a strong female lead having a love interest. It's um like Anna, for instance, in the Frozen movies has Kristoff, but that doesn't weaken her character at all. Like,
no,
and he's very supportive, but it's more of like the classic Disney trope of like, you know, the princess must be rescued by the prince, that kind of thing. But yeah, they kind of flip it on its head in more
true.
recent films, just which is cool. But without feeling the need to like go back and remake something. Yeah.
No, I agree with you. And and I used to feel just as strongly about 2016 Ghostbusters, but I guess in recent years I've kind of grown past that. And although I know it's still there, I just appreciate the film for what it is, and I just try to overlook those things. I did initially think that Chris Hemsworth's character was too dumb. It did seem like the men in the film were portrayed very, very dumb in their own ways. Like the mayor's nowhere to be seen for most of the movie, but there's a female liaison that represents him. Am I using the word liaison correctly? Anyway, just an intermediary, really. But I think the film is good for what it is. But no, we don't want to see a reboot. We don't want a reboot, and that's Afterlife stands on its own. It's really good just by itself. But at the same time, we're playing in the same universe as the original two films. Um, there's no political message. We're just having fun. We're having fun in this. Jason Reitman is the director of Afterlife, Ghostbusters Afterlife, and he is the son of Ivan Reitman, who, by the way, passed away. Ivan Reitman passed away earlier this year unexpectedly,
Mm.
and they both of them. Ivan Reitman was producer on Ghostbusters Afterlife, and just father and son, they got to really bond and just spend this time together making this film. And Jason was a little kid on the set of Ghostbusters 1 and 2, and I'm really glad that Jason got this time with his father before he unexpectedly passed away earlier this year. But yeah, he just got to have fun with his beloved property, playing with his dad's toys, his dad's sandbox, if you understand my phraseology.
Yeah. And once again, like the Afterlife had strong female characters, but
Oh yeah, definitely.
and it had humor as well, but it didn't come off preachy at all.
No.
It's like oh no, here's just an amazing female character. Yeah, she's young, but like she's a really cool female character, and she helps to save the day. It's like don't need to be in your face about it. She's just a cool character. It's like, yeah.
True.
So I like that. I like that. And that's not to knock Kristen Wiig or Melissa McCarthy. Like I think
No.
they're great actresses. I love them in many of the things that they're in. Like Melissa McCarthy was in a really amazing Hulu limited series. Nicole Kidman was also in it. I cannot think of the name of it right now, but it's on Hulu. If you look up the two of them in connection to Hulu, you'll probably find it. But both did excellent jobs. I think Melissa McCarthy, I think, was the producer of the series, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously Kristen Wiig has been in a lot of cool things. One that immediately comes to mind is The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, which I think we talked about. Was it last week or the week before? And I was trying to tell us, like, you need to watch this film. It's really good.
I don't know. Didn't we interview Dan Johnson last time?
Yes, we did. So maybe it wasn't last week. It must have been the week before that we talked about it.
Must have been.
And you had not seen it yet, which I'm assuming is still the case.
It's still the case.
But yes, it's about as close to perfect as a film can get. I think it like hits on almost every note. Yeah, it's really good. And Kristen Wiig is an important character in that film. So it's
Cool.
yeah. Anyway. So yeah. So I just hope everybody hears me. Like, that's not me bashing any of the actresses who were in the film. And Kate McKinnon was my favorite, I think, character in that film. Like her part was hilarious. She's the one with blonde hair. I don't know if you're familiar with her characters on Saturday Night Live, but yeah, she was hilarious. I thought she kind of stole the show a little bit on the 2016 Ghostbusters.
Cool. Are you talking about the one that plays the actress that plays? I don't remember the actress's name, but she plays. Oh gosh. I mean, I think it's my favorite character of the 2016 film, but I'm just having a hard time remembering her name. You're talking about the really awkward one.
Yes, yeah,
that might be a lesbian, but they don't say.
She is delightfully awkward.
Yeah, she is. Holtzman. There we go. Holtzman.
Okay.
I think that's my favorite character.
Yeah, it was definitely my favorite character
from that
of
film.
that one.
Yeah,
And but yeah, Kate McKinnon is the actress's name.
right.
And yeah, I don't know if that was her first film. Like, might have been. But yeah, she's been on Saturday Night Live for quite a long time. I think still is, if I'm not mistaken.
Cool.
But yeah, she's a very funny comedian. And yeah, I also love her, and which incidentally, Kristen Wiig is also in this film, a comedy that I highly recommend called Masterminds. So Zach Galifianakis is in it as well
Cool.
as Owen Wilson. So
Well, as far as Ghostbusters goes, we haven't even touched up on the rich history of the Ghostbuster video games from the computer and Atari on upward. We haven't touched up on the rich history of the now in Marvel Ghostbuster comics or the IDW or 88 mile per hour Ghostbuster comics. But there's been a lot of content. That's my point. There's been a lot of content past the movies and cartoon shows.
well, we have 5 minutes. You want to regale us with tales of some of these? Like, what's your favorite Ghostbusters video game?
Well, that would have to be the 2009 game called the Ghostbusters, called Ghostbusters the video game. I put the in the wrong place, and that was remastered just here in the last year or so. That would definitely, hands down, be the best, in my opinion, Ghostbusters video game. But there's been a few good ones.
Is that the one that was considered canon, where Dan Aykroyd actually got involved in writing some of the?
Yeah, that was it. And everyone, Bill Murray, Harold Ramis, obviously Dan, Ernie Hudson, Annie Potts, they all came back to reprise their characters. We even had a character being played by Doyle Murray, Bill's brother. And a new actress to the film series. But yeah, whether or not that film is still canon to Afterlife is questionable, but I really love it and I count it as canon still.
Cool.
But yeah, just a rich history of Ghostbusters content. There's plenty out there for everybody. There's even comic books about the 2016 Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know you read I guess an Americanized, or American produced, but
Oh,
Ghostbusters manga we've talked about not too long ago.
yeah, I forgot about that. I mean, there's so much out there, it's easy to forget. But yeah, that's by Tokyo Pop, and that might be out of print for all I know.
And has there been comic book properties as well? Like, if so, like what publishing company handles that? If they, you mentioned there was one for the 2016, or based off of the 2016.
That was the IDW publishing company. They have, within the last couple of years or so, lost the rights to Ghostbusters. I think that it was announced that Dark Horse or some other publishing company would get Ghostbusters next, but just in case I got the information wrong, don't quote me on it.
I was gonna guess Dark Horse because that sounds like something that would be up their alley.
Yeah.
So I know one of their big properties is Hellboy, correct?
Correct.
Or maybe their first big hit, Dark Horses.
Well, I don't know what their first big hit was, but they also had Stan Sakai's Usagi Yojimbo for a very long time. I don't know. I always considered Dark Horse to be right below Marvel and DC. I always thought that they were a big publishing company, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they could be called indie anymore. I would imagine like they're pretty good size. They've been around a while. Although I'm certainly not. You're more up to speed on comic world than I am, so.
I don't know everything.
It does seem like they've been around for a while and have, like, they have their own section at McKay's, for instance.
Well, we'll just say it this way. I never knew they were considered an indie publisher, so that's news to me.
Yeah, maybe only at the very beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe I'm just not keeping up.
All right. Well, we're down to our final minute here. So guys, you heard it from us. If you haven't seen Ghostbusters Afterlife yet, the most recent Ghostbusters film, you should check it out. We might do a review of just that film at some point. But today was kind of just an overview of all things Ghostbusters. And yeah, there's a lot of content out there. If you haven't dipped your feet in that river yet, give it a try. Obviously, we recommend, I'm assuming, will you'd agree, the first film, an 1984 film, start with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Probably not the black and white TV series from the
No, not unless you want to watch a man in a gorilla suit run around chasing ghosts. But...
Yeah, and then chronologically from there, you got the real Ghostbusters TV series, and then you got Ghostbusters 2, the film that came out in 1989. Then you have Extreme the Ghostbusters. Extreme Ghostbusters. Yeah. Then the video game, I guess, would be next, the one from 2009, right?
Not all of it's in canon, but that would come before Extreme Ghostbusters.
Oh, okay. In terms of chronology.
Yeah.
I was thinking more in terms of release date, but yeah.
Right. Oh no, that did release after that, and then of course Afterlife, but
yeah,
2016 film between that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode of the Irreverent Nerds podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at irreverent_nerds, plural. We are on Facebook. Our fan page is simply called The Irreverent Nerds. We're on YouTube, The Irreverent Nerd. And if you go to anchor.fm/irreverent nerd, you can support us for 99 cents a month, $4.99 a month, or $9.99 a month. You can also send us a voice message, which we may include in a future episode. Fellow nerds, until next time, make it so. Engage. Avengers assemble. I'm Batman.